Hi, this is Mr. Vanscoy. We're going to kick off our biology class with some biology basics, the principles of life and organization. All right, I've selected what I think is an interesting quote. The spiral in a snail's shell is the same mathematically as the spiral in the Milky Way galaxy, and it's also the same mathematically as the spirals in our DNA. It's the same ratio that you'll find in very basic music that transcends cultures all over the world. This from Joseph Gordon-Levitt. All right, when you're done with our lesson today, you should be able to describe the characteristics of life and the four unifying principles, and you should also be able to talk about the organization of multicellular organisms, the organization within that organism, and then the organization of the groups of organisms. Biology is the study of life. It covers a wide range of topics. Is there a way to define life then? Scientifically, there is an actual definition. Living organisms must have certain characteristics, which we'll take a look at in a moment. If they do not have these characteristics, are they living? This butterfly, like all other insects, animals, plants, and every other living organism, share common characteristics with all life. What exactly does it mean to be alive? And this introduction will answer this question. The 6 characteristics of life. 1 is that it needs to respond to its environment. 2, it needs to grow and develop throughout its life cycle. 3, it must reproduce in some way. There are different ways to reproduce. As long as it's reproducing in some way, it's considered a living thing. It must maintain homeostasis. It must have some type of complex chemistry going on, and it must be made of cells. This is just an introduction to these 6 characteristics. Throughout our course, we'll actually go into detail on more of these. So I'm not going to go into detail now. That's kind of the purpose of our course, or part of it anyways. All right, so the math wizards at home will tell you that we've reached those 6 characteristics of life. There's also another one that modern biology is adding into the definition. So number 7 actually would be based on genetic code. There are kind of 4 unifying or big ideas or principles, 4 unifying principles important to all life, and kind of what serves to be the foundation of modern biology as we understand it. And they are the cell theory, the evolutionary theory, gene theory, and homeostasis. I'll go over those in a little more detail in the next few slides, but again, these are things that we're going to explore in our course. The cell theory states that the cell is the basic unit of structure and function of all organisms. The cell theory states that all living things are made of one or more cells, or secretions of those cells. For example, shell and bone are built by cells from substances that they secrete into their surroundings. Cells come from cells that already exist. That is, they do not suddenly appear out of nowhere. In organisms that are made of many cells, multicellular organisms, every cell in the organism's body derives from the single cell that results from a fertilized egg. And again, we'll look at that more later. We also have gene theory that states an organism's traits are encoded in their DNA, which is a large molecule that holds the instructions needed to build cells and organisms. DNA makes up the genes of an organism. Traits are passed on from one generation to the next by way of these genes. Information for how the organism appears and how its cells work come from the organism's genes. Although the appearance and cell function of the organism may change due to the organism's environment, the environment does not change its genes. The only way that genes can change in response to the particular environment or a particular environment is through the process of evolution. I've also got a video here, which I will link to in Schoology and link to in the Google slide deck that you can watch. And we'll probably watch that in class too, talking about genes, DNA, and chromosomes. Homeostasis. Homeostasis is the ability of an organism to control its body functions in order to maintain a stable internal environment, even when its external environment changes. All living organisms perform homeostasis. For example, cells maintain a stable internal acidity or pH. Warm-blooded animals maintain a constant body temperature. So homeostasis can be looked at a cellular level and also as an organism as a whole, maintaining its some type of stable environment. Evolution. Evolution by natural selection is the theory that maintains that a population's inherited traits change over time and that all known organisms have a common origin. Evolutionary theory can explain how specialized features such as a gecko's sticky foot pads develop in different species. And we'll be taking a whole unit on evolution to talk about that topic. All right, in our last slide, we're going to talk about organization of life. So we'll start by talking about life structures of a multicellular organism. So we've got cells being the most specific and smallest level, as far as cells being the smallest. Tissues being kind of next level up is going to be a collection of the same types of cells. Organisms are going to be collections of 2 or more types of tissues, and so on. Later in the semester, I will actually ask you about some of these different definitions, and we'll go into that. But for now, just know these kind of different levels of organization. On the right-hand side, we have populations, again being the most specific and ending with the biosphere. So populations are going to be all the same type of species. Communities are going to include more, 2 or more different populations. Ecosystems being a collection of communities. Biomes being a collection of ecosystems, and so on. All right, that's going to do it then for our introduction to some biology basics. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask in class or through Schoology messages. That's fine as well. All right, I hope this helped.